Hey! Hey! It's been a while here. Yeah, it's definitely been a while here. But, remember when I did? Now it's time for another episode of... Hi there. It's Brett Hornby here. Finally, welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Flames in 6 here. Yeah, it's been 2.5 months here. We are still in Season 2. Episode number 14 here. As I felt here, as in the previous video and recent news with the National Hockey League on their return to play plan here, that I felt it was appropriate to do the next episode of my Calgary Flames 6 here. However, I'm just going to call this a double feature, no games 71 to 82 edition here, because one of the things that were announced in the NHL's return to play plan here is the fact that the 2019-20 regular season is now over. So the Calgary Flames only got to play 70 regular season games in the 2019-20 season to celebrate their 40th season after all in the NHL as the Calgary Flames here. Definitely was a much interesting season here. A lot of highlights and some lowlights and just some ugly highlights that has happened during this 40th season in the regular season here. Definitely we'll cover that in this episode here. And then obviously this global pandemic and all this coronavirus and COVID-19 and all this social distancing and all this wonderful stuff where sports was paused here definitely adds into this interesting season here. So what I plan to do here is just talk about the games that we still missed out on and the fact that when I expect to make episode 15 where we'll preview the playoffs here, because the Calgary Flames get to qualify for the playoffs here, or do we call it the playoffs, given that the NHL had their 24-team playoff decided here, and the fact that the Calgary Flames will have to play their way in to get into the round of 16 here. So that's definitely, one way to interpret that here. However, I guess you got to call it playoffs here because 7 teams aren't going to be in. And the fact that in this playoff round here, they're going to be subjected to playoff rules here where we got to play until somebody scores instead of overtime if it is tied here. And we happen to draw the Winnipeg Jets in this format here because the standings definitely sort of changed here because everything was based on points percentage here. So bring on the Winnipeg Jets, but we don't know when I'll be ready to make the next episode here because we just don't know when they're going to be here. And, it's been a long time since we played the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs here, but we can nickname the series the Atlantic Cousins series because the Calgary Flames started in Atlanta here, and this rendition of the Winnipeg Jets started as the Atlanta Thrashers here because the original Winnipeg Jets are now the Arizona Coyotes here. However, I think it's going to be the same, rivalry and hate that will brew once we see each other in a playoff series, regardless of what format here. However, we're not going to have to see a red versus to see a white here, so that element's going to be the same here. So I will do a play-in series preview once we know that, but I don't think it's going to be a couple months here. So to recap here are the games that the Calgary Flames have missed here because of given circumstances here. Who would have thought back on Sunday, March the 8th here, when we lost that game to the Vegas Golden Knights here, that was going to be the last game that the Calgary Flames are going to play in their 40th anniversary season of the regular season here. And that here we are 2.5 months later, I'm finally making an episode for Season 2 to continue on. As when everything got paused here, Season 2 got paused here, and then I just felt now that the 2019-20 regular season is in the books here because it's kind of not practical to finish up the regular season and then eventually have the playoffs here. So that's why that playoff format was discussed here just for this case here. So Calgary played 70 games. So game 71, if we recap here, would have been on Thursday, March the 12th here. The Calgary Flames would have taken on the New York Islanders, and that would have been a 7 p.m. puck drop. At Scotiabank Saddledome here, I understand that was a bobblehead night, and I'm not too sure if it was I understand it was a bobblehead night because there were some bobblehead games that they were handing out games here, so apparently fans missed out on that. And the game 72, Saturday, March the 14th. We've been taking on the team that we're going to play in the play around, the Winnipeg Jets. That would have been an 8 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And then game 73, the Calgary Flames would have gone out to the Atlantic Coast here. This game 73 would have been on Monday, March the 16th here, as the Calgary Flames would have taken on the New York Rangers. That would have been at Madison Square Garden at 5 p.m. puck drop here. That's definitely one place I want to catch an NHL game live outside of the Saddledome, is Madison Square Garden. And then game 74 would have been the next night on Tuesday, March the 17th. The Calgary Flames would have taken on the New York Islanders, and they would have been at the Barclays Center, not the Nassau Coliseum here. However, given a couple seasons here, the New York Islanders will have their new home here, so that's would have been game 74. Game 75 would have been on Thursday, March the 19th, as the Calgary Flames would have taken on the New Jersey Devils at the Prudential Center, and that would have been a 5 p.m. puck drop. And as you recall, all game times we give are all Mountain Time here. And then game 76, we would have taken on, would have been on Saturday, March the 21st here. We would have gotten back home to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning, the dread Tampa Bay Lightning. Been saying the dread Tampa Bay Lightning since June 2004 there. Definitely would have been a fun game. Hockey Night Canada would have been at the Scotiabank Saddledome, 8 p.m. And then game 77 on Monday, March the 23rd, the Calgary Flames would have taken on the San Jose Sharks at home. That would have been a 7 p.m. puck drop here. And then game 78 would have been on Wednesday, March the 25th. The Calgary Flames would still be at home, taking on the Anaheim Ducks at the Scotiabank Saddledome. That would have been a 7:30 puck drop here. And the California teams definitely were long out of it here, so we would have to avoid, being spoiled here. And then game 79 would have been on Friday, March the 27th. The Calgary Flames would have went on the road to take on the Vancouver Canucks. That would have been an 8 p.m. puck drop, Hockey Night Canada at Rogers Arena here. And given the divisional race at the time and the playoff race there, that would have definitely been a great game there. And it's always interesting when Calgary and Vancouver play each other. They like to say how you do with their fists and physical play there. And then game A would have been on Wednesday, March 31st. The Calgary Flames would have been back at home. They would have been taking on the Winnipeg Jets, which is the team we're eventually going to play in the play around. Don't know when yet. So that would have wrapped up March. So that would be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. And then game 81 would have been on Thursday, April 2nd here. The Calgary Flames would have been taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. Definitely, we've started picking up some rivalry with the Vegas Golden Knights here. With a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome in game 82. Looked forward to this game for absolutely nothing. Who knows what if? It would have been Saturday, April 4th. Well, you would have taken on those Edmonton Oilers. I would have an 8 p.m. puck drop at Scotiabank Saddledome, and who the heck knows what could have been on the line at that game. Or it could have been a playoff preview, which this whole thing has robbed us from that. And then given the playoff format here, at earliest, we would play the Edmonton Oilers. Won't be till the second round, but it just won't be the same because it'll be in yet to be determined hub city with no fans. So that definitely, we get robbed of that. But those were the 12 games that were still left on the schedule. But you can kiss them goodbye, and we're going to jump right into a playoff format here, which that'll be my plan next episode here, against the Winnipeg Jets here. And what I plan to do is I'll preview the series, and even though it's not the same Winnipeg Jets, we'll look at the playoff history, because I think the last time, the Flames played the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs here, even if it's the original one, was back in 1987 there, because we have not played the Winnipeg in the playoffs here. And just for the heck of it, the Winnipeg Jets, the original Winnipeg Jets, started off in the World Hockey Association. And they actually did play the Calgary Cowboys in the one series that they played there. So I might as well preview all that in that episode. Don't know when. I might slowly, make my notes, but I'm in no hurry to make that episode yet, because I want to know, hey, the games will actually happen and when it is and where it is, and that's also what I'll put in that video. So it's probably going to be another couple months before that next episode here. But before I go, who led the team and give my final thoughts on everything, how to highlight the 40th season in But the Calgary Flames here, it's definitely a lot of things to digest here. There's definitely a lot of interesting things happening here. I mean, expectations were first sky high because Calgary kept calling it the best season in a generation, where they won the Western Conference title in the regular season at least. However, we had a brief cameo against the Colorado Avalanche here, but the Calgary Flames, for the first time in over 30 years, they led the Western Conference, or their respective conference, and that was definitely surprising and unexpected. Looking at this now, I think we might have overachieved a little last season there. We had a lot of players that had a career year, including Mark Giordano, where he won the Norris Trophy here. So Calgary definitely had a hard time living up to that with the regular season last season. And then there was a few minor changes. I mean, obviously the big changes were players that we got from the Edmonton Oilers, and like Ken Talbot, Bashi Milan Lucic, and Tobias Rieder. And then James Neal got traded to Edmonton, and Mike Smith signed with Edmonton here. So we knew that was a storyline that was going to come in, and it definitely lived up to the hype there and got me starving for a Calgary-Edmonton playoff series. And, it could still happen, but not necessarily under the circumstances that we could have here. But the Battle of Alberta definitely got revived here, because since, from 1983 to 1991 here, I think the Flames and Oilers played each other 5 times in that stretch there. And it was almost at the point there where both teams were at the best teams in the league there. And it was likely whoever won that series was likely going to win the Stanley Cup here. And then one couple things that are still out there is that the only time the Flames beat the Oilers in the playoffs here was in 1986. And that was when Steve Smith, gotta say shoot every time you hear that name, deflected the puck off of Grant Fuhr and went in the net there. And crazily, both of those players eventually played together on the Calgary Flames during that era. Steve Smith actually was a captain of the Calgary Flames at one point there. But that was the only time we beat them, when that happened in the third period in Game 6 in 1986. And we went on to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in franchise history. And then in 1989, when the Calgary Flames won the Stanley Cup, some naysayers say, yeah, but you didn't play the Oilers. And the Oilers had a 3-1 lead against the Los Angeles Kings. And that was the first time that Wayne Gretzky faced the Edmonton Oilers. After that trade there, although we took care of the Los Angeles Kings, Doug Gilmour definitely had a big series in 1989 against the Los Angeles Kings, where we swept them and eventually won the Cup there in 1991. I still remember that series, and that was the last time we played the Oilers. And, that definitely was a heated series where Calgary was trying to come back from 3-1 down. And Game 7, we had a lead, and then Edmonton tied it up, and then scored a late goal, and then we tied it up late there, and then Messer Estetik and Floyd went over Mike Byrne, and that was it. And then Calgary and Edmonton just weren't relevant at the same time for almost 30 years. And even the Battle of Alberta, the hate was always there, but definitely got amped a lot more. Especially, Zach Kassian, Matthew Tkachuk, and then Mike Smith and Ken Talbot fighting. That was one way you can highlight that season. Another thing you could highlight this season was, there was a couple strange incidents. I mean, TJ Brody collapsed at practice one time, and I recapped about that. So that definitely, I think, was the strangest incident. And then, things also got strange and sort of ugly here, where head coach Bill Peters, there was a tweet brought up about him from the past there, where he said some things he shouldn't have said in retrospect here, but this is where you gotta throw that line about that cancel culture. And I mean, this was a tweet that at the time former Flame McLean Malou said, and apparently it was all confirmed, but it happened 10 years ago. So that definitely, I think that was definitely the low point of the season, because even just before that played out, there was that Calgary couldn't score. We definitely got destroyed against St. Louis. I remember that one game there. We just couldn't score to save our lives. And then this happened. And that was shortly after where, you had the Don Cherry got fired. And Hockey Night Canada definitely has since then. And I definitely made my video talk about that. And then he had the Mike Babcock firing. And then it led to this. And there was kind of that sort of a revolution in hockey about the relationship between coach and player. So unfortunately, that happened this season. However, I felt things turned around once, the air cleared from that. And then, ultimately, Bill Peters resigned as head coach. I didn't think the scenario was going to come back. However, he did resurface in the news recently that he is going to be coaching in the KHL, and I made a video about that. And best luck, Bill. Hopefully you can, have a redemption story in the making here, where eventually you get back in the NHL there. But I think that was the low point there, and then we'll see, because Jeff Ward is still technically the interim head coach of the Calgary Flames here. Do we still decide to keep him as coach? I think he's done enough, all things considered, to be considered he's the coach, but there's still potentially some names out there. There's apparently reports that maybe Gerard Gallant might be going to the New Jersey Devils, because they made a coaching change, but Peter Laviolette is still available, but Calgary does not seem to be known to make big name coach here, but I still think Jeff Ward has done enough, so that definitely will stem from that. So, and the Flames were actually played a little better. We've been up and down, but every team has their streaks throughout the year there, but I felt we were slowly going on pace here before the pause here, but we'll see what happens in the playoffs. And let's say if we get out of the first round, the real first round, the round of 16, maybe going around here, then Jeff Ward definitely will solidify his chances of being the head coach, but that definitely was that. Of course, earlier in the year, the team that we draw in the first round, well, definitely started off with that Harris Classic, and definitely take out that Harris Classic. Well, definitely the Flames will have to play a little better than they did in that game, because David Riddick definitely was busy in that game, but that game, it was a spectacle. It was beautiful seeing Calgary and Winnipeg playing in Regina, where the Rough Riders used to always play, but it was home to hockey there. Of course, it was, I had my love even more of those retro jerseys, because the Flames definitely wore them more often. And it was those white ones. It got me begging that we need those jerseys. It looked so beautiful, and the Flames did wear their white jerseys on a couple other occasions other than Harris Classic there. So that's another highlight here, and then, that's definitely a lot of interesting things that have happened this season, and we don't know how the season is yet to end here. The only thing that would suck, let's say if we win the Stanley Cup here, is it wouldn't be under the same circumstances. An asterisk won't be needed here, but I would like to go out and celebrate, and who knows where we were at. I'd like to go to the rally and celebrate, if I'm being hypothetical here, if we won the Stanley Cup, but that would definitely be interesting. Actually, the hockey guy, one of the inspirations for me to do this, he's done some live streams, and I think what he does is he just simulates NHL 20, and he does his live streams as going there. Actually, the Calgary Flames won the Stanley Cup in his simulation. That we beat the Philadelphia Flyers in Game 7 in Philadelphia. And then David Riddick won the Conn Smythe Trophy there. So, in that, I did see the Flames win the Stanley Cup. And you throw out a triple yeah, baby, for Peter Marr here. But, it would definitely be, it's a lot of layers to this season here. But hopefully, we'll still get to back and play in the playoffs here and have a, bigger than a brief cameo here. But that's basically my final thoughts here. And then just to recap here, who ultimately led the team in scoring here? Well, Elias Lindholm had the most goals here at 29. When it comes to goals here, Elias Lindholm led with 29. Then Matthew Tkachuk had 23. Sean Monahan had 22. Johnny Gaudreau had 18. And Andrew Mangiapane around the top 5 with 17 goals here. Then when it comes to assists here, the Calgary Flames assist leader was Johnny Gaudreau, who had 40 assists there. Then Matthew Tkachuk had 38 second. Michael Backlund third at 29. And then Sean Monahan and Mark Giordano round out tied for the top 4 with 26 each here. But then you could say the leading scorer for the Flames was Matthew Tkachuk. He had 67. And then Johnny Gaudreau had 58 for second. Elias Lindholm had 54. Sean Monahan had 48. And Michael Backlund had 45 here. Keep in mind that the league leader, when it comes to now that the season is over here, goes to Leon Draisaitl up at Edmonton, as he had 110 points here. And then the goals leader was actually going to be shared by David Pastrnak and Alexander Ovechkin, as they both had 48 goals. And then the assist leader was Leon Draisaitl, 67 here. So that gives you an idea on where our players ranked from the league's leaders here. So when it comes to teams here, team stats here, well, Calgary had the 12th best power play in the league here at 21.2% here. And then when it comes to the penalty kill here, the Calgary Flames were 8th in penalty kill, tied for 8th with Pittsburgh and Chicago. 81.1% here, so I'm going to say our special teams actually improved under the coaching change here. And then the shots per game here, Calgary still is in the bottom half of the league here, as we were 24th. Calgary had averaged 32.4 shots here. The Flyers led with 28.7 here. And then going back into the league leaders, Edmonton had the best power play of 29.5% there. Well, when you have Draisaitl and McDavid out there to throw out there, you have a lethal power play. And then penalty kill, actually, the San Jose Sharks led with 85.7% there. And then the face-off percentage here, the Flames still a little iffy in that. We were tied for 21st with Arizona at 49.1% here. The league leader is Philadelphia at 54.6% there. So that's just some team stats here. So I think what I'll plan to do is I'll put the team's stats in the description here, as I do with my video last year and I did for the Hitman here. But this is definitely kind of my final thoughts, and just kind of put a close on the regular season part here for season 2 here. Season 2 will continue for at least 2 more episodes, as there'll be a play-in round preview once we know if it happens. Where it's still no guarantee, it's all plans here, and obviously the NHL got to do it as safe as possible here. And we don't know where this game's going to be played, but as soon as I know, I'll release episode 15. And episode 16, hopefully I'll talk about the Flames getting past the Winnipeg Jets and recap the play-in round, and then I'll just keep doing that till when we win the Stanley Cup. I can dream, right? That's the beauty of it. At least the dream could still alive for at least 24 teams, that they could still win the Stanley Cup this year. I know some can debate on the format here, but I think that given these very, very unique circumstances, it's the best scenario here, because you couldn't get all 82 games here played in the books. And actually, I should say standings. I should recap on the standings here. There's 2 ways to slice the standings here, because Calgary at the pause was third in the they were third in the division here, but they kind of threw out divisions here, because I just want to find the standings here, because the fact that everything's based on points percentage now, and the fact that they seeded everyone. Calgary finishes 8th in the Western Conference. They had a record of 36, 27, and 7 for 79 points in 70 games here, for a points percentage of 564 here. That puts them 8th in the Western Conference here. At the pause, we were 3rd in the Pacific Division there, with Vegas being the leader and Edmonton in 2nd there, but Vancouver was just behind here. And in fact, Vancouver had 1 point less, but one less game here, so their points percentage was slightly higher here. So when it comes to the playoffs picture here, Boston, Tampa Bay, Washington, Philadelphia will be in the bye into the first round here, and they'll still figure out how they're going to do that, if they're either going to play each other to get the seeds here. Because when it comes to, because it's going to be top 12 that are in the playoffs here, and it's 5, 12, 6, 11, 7, 10, 8, 9 here, that they decided to play around here. And then who knows if they're going to still do it bracketed or conference format, that we still seem to love a lot more than the divisional format. But the hockey guy also shows videos that it doesn't really change that much. I know sometimes you get a tough division and you get one powerhouse team knocked out in the first round here, but it's kind of the same thing with FIFA when they do their pools, and then they say there is the group of death, one team, but it's this, once you get into playoffs, you only have good teams knocking each other out for the championship here. So 5-12 for in the East is Pittsburgh versus Montreal, and Montreal definitely has a lifeline here. And then actually Carolina was against the this format here, because the New York Rangers have their number here, so Carolina gets to take on the New York Rangers, and then New York Islanders take on the Florida Panthers for the 7-10. And And then the Toronto Maple Leafs take on the Columbus Blue Jackets for the 8-9 there. And I know I made a video last week talking about this format here, assuming that how they seed it, but it's sort of kind of all out the window on how it's going to work here. I know Toronto Maple Leaf fans, I heard them all moaning about, oh man, if we beat Columbus, we got to play Boston again in the first round. But maybe not. And then Buffalo, New Jersey, Ottawa, and Detroit aren't in the playoffs here, so their off season's now started here. So at West here, St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, and Dallas are 1 through 4, so they're in the bye here. So then when it comes to the 5-12, you got Edmonton playing Chicago. And then the 6-11, you got Nashville playing Arizona. 7-10, you got Vancouver playing Minnesota. And then 8-9, you got Calgary playing Winnipeg here. And then Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Jose, their off-season has begun here. So that's how the standings look here. So I guess you could say we finished 8th in the conference at the pause, or in third in the division at the pause here. But now everything is based on we're number 8 when it comes to being in the playoffs here. But playoff preview probably will not going to be for another couple months here, and I'm sure I'll do a bracket and I'll give my predictions here, and can't really speculate on them because there's still unknowns about if this is indeed going to happen, and could injuries come up here, or who could the Calgary Flames carry, and of course if there's any future news I'll make videos on that. But my early pick right now that I think will be in the Stanley Cup Finals is I like Colorado in the West and Tampa Bay in the East here. That's my picker. I think definitely Tampa Bay is going to be on a mission this year. After what happened last year, and Colorado, what they showed in the brief cameo that they had with us here, I think Colorado is ready to take on the next step there. So that's what I put out there right now, but things could still change here. But yeah, it's definitely nice to be back and having Calgary Flames sort of game recap here, but now that the season is over, the regular season that is, but we still have some playoffs to go here, and hopefully it's going to happen when it's deemed as safe as possible here. But hopefully there'll be a couple more episodes, but season 2 is still continuing here. So if I say here, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, all the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders. Obviously I mostly talk Calgary sports here, and I've definitely been giving videos on updates on what all the leagues are planning on doing to return to play here. Just to keep up content here. But I also have been starting to talk about Calgary teams from the past here, and I still plan to make some more videos when I have time here. But I also do personal vlogs, attempt at comedy, and I also share my experiences. Let's say I'm on the road or I'm supporting me here. However, given circumstances right now, I don't think I'm going to be doing that anytime soon here, but I definitely have a catalog of all that. So if that all sounds like you'd be interested to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey. I also have my other social media links down in the description below here. So at least I could say it's nice to be back and doing a game recap and finally get a video in this playlist here. However, I think you're going to probably have to wait a couple months before I would give my preview on the Winnipeg Jets play-in round, best of 5. And obviously I'll make follow-up videos on once we know how the playoff format works here. But then maybe the draft lottery. I don't have enough scotch and I don't have a PhD to figure that out yet. But at least the NHL, they've been committed to still have hockey and still award the Stanley Cup here, because it's definitely been tough time here the last few months, and definitely been going through withdrawal here, and definitely been staying in, working at home. I mean, it's been 2.5 months, and I think we might still have to wait another couple months until we get some hockey here, but at least there's a plan in place, and Batman has not said it's over. Not yet. And, Stanley Cup is the most impressive championship trophy in sports, and it deserves to be hoisted. Hopefully by these guys, I can dream, but I almost would in some way accept anything at this point here. But that is what it is. So if I say, I'll see you in the next video here.